You want to come a little nearer to me? Do you? No, you want to come nearer to me? How do clowns do it? This does not stay on. Yes, I used powder. Yes, I used clown makeup. No, I don't know how old the clown makeup is. Is it good for your skin? I don't know. Hello, and welcome back to me screaming into the void. Today, we'll be talking about Clown in a Cornfield, the movie versus the book, because I loved the books. I read all three of them. Adam Cesare, you're not gonna watch this. Your books are so good. I couldn't stop. Quinn is phenomenal. I loved her entire character arc. It gets so dark. Today, we are heading into the Cornfield, and things are gonna get very bloody. There will be all the spoilers, pretty much from the beginning. I will warn you beforehand. Clown in a Cornfield is one of those movies / books that I call gateway horror, meaning that anyone who wants to dip their toe into horror and isn't put off by slashers, this is the way to go. We have talked about it already in my beginners video, where I talked about things that aren't spooky but are very bloody. Here it's the same thing, not spooky, very bloody. Unless you have the fear of clowns, then I am sorry I look this way. Feel free to leave. It's based on a horror novel by Adam Cesare and directed by Eli Craig. If you don't know who Eli Craig is, he's the same guy who did Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. I absolutely adore this movie. I did a double feature on it with Final Girls. So my expectations going into this movie were very high because having read all three books, I knew where the characters were going. I know how dark it got, and I was hoping that Craig would go the same way. I am happy and unhappy to announce that he kind of did and kind of didn't. Let me explain. The movie delivers some really awesome kills, a few clever twists, and a whole lot of friendos. But as someone who's read the book, I like the book more. Let's get into the movie first. It opens up with a classic 90s slasher vibe. There is teens, there is a cornfield, and there is a lot of death. We jump to present day and we meet Quinn and her father on their way to move into the new town, Kettle Springs. Quinn's dad is a doctor and is going to be the main doctor of the town, and Quinn is going to get into the last year of high school. And we get the vibe early on that one, the town is pretty dilapidated because the main source of income, which was the corn syrup factory, burnt down, and the elders give us very much kids ruin everything vibes. Frendo is the creepy corn syrup mascot, and from the beginning we see his face plastered everywhere. So anybody with clown phobia, I feel like would have hated this town and would have left immediately. I don't mind clowns. I've never been one to fear them since we had gone to the circus pretty often when we were little. So clowns for me were associated more with fun times. And now they're just fun times in horror. From this moment onwards, we are going to be going into spoiler territory. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want the movie getting spoiled, even though you have read the book, you are free to leave and get back once you have watched it. Let's get into it. The twist is there's not just one killer. Everyone in town who isn't a teenager is pretty much in on it, except for Quinn's dad, who's just new and hasn't been indoctrinated by the elders yet. I love that Kevin Durand is playing the town mayor and Cole's dad. We have 4-ish main characters. Quinn, who is the main girl, the final girl. Cole, who in the beginning we think, even in the book, that he is Quinn's love interest, but things change and it takes a different path. Rustin Vance, who is one of my favorite characters in the books. In the movie, his character kind of takes a bit of a backseat. I was so annoyed by that. There is a couple of things that don't happen in the movie where I was like, why, Eli Craig, Mr. Craig, why did you not include that? I mean, I know you have to up the ante if you're gonna make another 3 movies. Kind of disappointed. The kills in the movies were solid, okay? We have pitchforks going through bodies, we have chainsaws going through bodies, you have decapitated people. I don't know, it was a fun one. I also like the way the camera was set up and the lighting. All in all, it was a pretty visually entertaining movie to watch. It's just, if you have read the books, I think that's a qualm that anyone anyone who reads books and then watches movies, I had the same thing with my best friend's exorcism. It felt like in the movie they went through each and every step of the book, but all the depth was just completely lost. The actresses tried their best, but I was so disappointed. Where the movie leans more towards fast, fun, and slick, the book goes way deeper. The core similarities are the main structure, the tone, and the ending are all preserved. Quinn, Cole, Glenn, who is Quinn's dad, and Rust survive. Arthur Hill is revealed as the main villain and escapes, teasing us a sequel. Themes remain intact. We have the generational conflict, fear of modern youth, and a violent resistance to change. And given the current political climate, I feel like this movie is pretty much spot on, especially for a younger crowd. Listen, not every horror movie is meant for us. And by us, I mean us oldies, okay? The ones who have watched it all, the ones who don't get scared anymore. First thing I'm going to hit on in the differences are who started the factory fire. In the book, Cole accidentally causes the factory fire, burns the entire factory down. In the movie, there is a twist reveal. Arthur Hill started the fire and framed it on his own son. Dum, dum, dum. Cole is portrayed in this movie more like a sympathetic and innocent person. The beginning, that's one thing that peeved me off so badly. I was not okay after I watched the beginning. In the book, we start with Victoria's death. We have the cameras, we have Cole, we have his friends. They take videos. Yes, it's kept in the movie that they do their YouTube videos with the clown and the deaths. However, the beginning of the book is completely scrapped. So in the book, we have Victoria's death. They're all on top of that ledge that goes into the lake, and she hits her head and she dies. Arthur Hill blames his son for that. He still blames his son also in the movie. It feels like Arthur Hill's motivations are way more personal in the book than they are in the movie, because in the movie the death of Victoria is barely touched on. The movie starts with a random 90s party in the Cornfield, and two people get killed by a clown, a Frendo clown, before jumping into modern day. And Victoria's death is just mentioned briefly by Cole and his dad. What? In case you're wondering what that random scene was and what it has to do with the story, and you haven't watched the movie yet, but you have read the book, later in the movie, the mayor reveals that the massacres of the generations happen every couple of decades and refers to the opening scene as being the last massacre that occurred. It happened in the 1930s with the hobos, in the 1960s with the hippies, and in the 1990s with the burnouts, and now with the newest generation. Ronnie and Matt's roles are also different. In the book, they betray the teens and secretly side with the adults in exchange for safety. They attempt to frame Quinn and are killed during the fight with her. In the movie, they're purely victims. Matt is beheaded, Ronnie is chainsawed in the cornfield, no betrayal subplot. There is your 10% of depth already gone out of the window. I feel like Matt and Ronnie's roles in the books were so much more pivotal. Motivation-wise also, you know, you're like, oh, all teens are on our sides. No, they weren't. There were traitors in the cornfields. And now, in my opinion, one of the worst changes that happened. Mr. Craig. Why? Cornfield Massacre. In the book, there's a massive, massive cornfield massacre. It is so intense, and it was such a blast to read. The adults go full-on slasher mode, killing off the teens en masse as a violent reaction to the generational change and their outdated values. So there's a whole banter going on in the fields. We get such beautiful kills in the book. In the sequels, we also have certain characters that had to go through that trauma of reliving what they had to go through. There were sisters of certain characters that were killed, and these characters are like trying to get back on their feet in the second book. In the movie, I was so disappointed. It would have been such a beautiful Jaws at the beach scene with like so many friendos just running around with the different kind of pitchforks and chainsaws and arrows, but no, that doesn't happen. Two random partygoers die early on, but once the friendos reveal themselves in the cornfield, most of the extras just lock themselves in the barn and are never seen again. The killers focus entirely on that tight-knit friend group. Quinn, Cole, Rust, Janet, and Ronnie. They even have a literal kill list with the teens' pictures stapled on the wall. I wanted my Jaws at the beach scene in the cornfield with clowns. No! And the movie never explains why these particular teens have been singled out. The idea of the generational purge is still there, but by only targeting a few. The film just undercuts its own theme. And I don't get why. You could have gone full blast. What are you gonna do in the second one? Glenn Maybrook's hero moment. In the book, we have Rust driving into the factory to save Cole, and Glenn's role is minor during the climax. In the movie, Glenn drives the car that crashes through the barn, giving him a more active and heroic arc that deepens the father-daughter bond, I guess. Trudy's fate. In the book, Trudy's hand is shot off. She is revealed to be a Frendo. She is also the one who in the beginning works at the diner. She loses her hand in a shootout with Russ and is operated on by Glenn and then bleeds out. In the movie, she is still a Frendo, but dies during the whole barn car crash into the factory. And she's not in the dismembered subplot. There is just some random Frendo. We still have that scene. It's just not Trudy. We never figure out who it is that is on the operating table. Janet's arc. In the book, she has way more depth. She is also portrayed as an Asian American and dies much earlier, warning the people of multiple Frendos before she gets beheaded. In the movie, she is portrayed as the blonde mean girl comic relief, survives until late in the movie, and then is impaled by a pitchfork in the Tillerson's house. No heroic moment, dies mid-insult. I hate you, Quinn. And then the clown dying beside her is like, I hate you too. It was funny though. Sheriff Dunn's character. In the book, way more politically charged. Explicitly wants to make Kettle Springs great again. In the movie, still a major antagonist, but the political subtext has been completely removed and becomes a more generic enforcer type villain. Dies via cattle prod in the mouth. That was pretty fun. Alec Murray's role. In the book, Alec is Janet's stepdad and a key conspirator. He wants to kill Cole and Janet, gets both legs broken, and is shot by Rust. In the movie, he's completely cut from the plot. His role isn't reassigned, maybe held for a sequel. I don't know. The movie trims and simplifies characters and plot threads to tighten the runtime and focus on accessibility, especially for a younger or casual horror audience. It maintains the core twist, multiple adult killers in Frendo masks, and overall message, but trades some of the book's more complex moral ambiguity and satire for pace and cinematic clarity. It reminded me of Thanksgiving, just not as gory and intense. It was also not the target audience. I don't think the Thanksgiving audience would have appreciated this movie much. They would have been like, this is for babies. And in fact, when I read some of the reviews, I was like, chill. We don't always have to have everything like gung-ho. We also can have some slasher which are a little more chill in the vibe. And that's what Clown in a Cornfield is. I feel like both versions are tackling something deeper than Killer Clowns. Killer Clowns is what gets your attention, but what it's tackling is intergenerational conflict, small town values versus modern youth culture. Parents are literally killing the next generation because they can't control it. That being said, the book is way more vicious, more complex, and gives characters more layers. It plays with structures, POVs, and moral ambiguity the way that the movie just doesn't have time to. This movie is definitely not for hardcore freaks. It's for a younger crowd. My cat's going insane. Yes, I have a cat named Oliver. Say hello. As I was saying, this movie is not for hardcore horror freaks. It's more for the younger crowd or anyone looking for a slick, entertaining gateway into modern slashers. The kills were fun, heads were squished or beheaded, bodies slammed into chainsaws, and we have a full-on splatter collision of car against clown. Absolutely phenomenal kill. My verdict is the book definitely wins for me. That is also maybe because I have a very active imagination and was very much in the cornfield with these kids while everything was happening. The movie, I enjoyed it. I was very disappointed at how much they simplified it, even with Victoria's... Yes, I'm going to harp on it. Even with Victoria's death, I was very disappointed. I was expecting some gut-wrenching death in the beginning, and I just got some randos being killed by a clown. in a cornfield. They cut a lot, and in doing so made it feel more like the typical teen slasher. Key scenes were missing, like the party massacre and the showdown between Quinn, Ronnie, and Matt. Most characters felt one-dimensional, except for the main characters like Cole, Quinn, her dad, and Rust. Rust had less screen time than he did in the book. I was so disappointed. Yes, Cole and Rust's twist revealed that they actually are in love or were in love and had once a relationship. In the book, again, it had a little more depth. In the movie, it felt like more of a comedic relief. Some of the humor worked, not all. I didn't enjoy the whole clamping hand over somebody else's mouth scene where you had the 3 girls in the cornfield and each one was clamping the other girl's mouth so that they would be more quiet. And in the end, you had the clown clamping his hand over the girl's mouth. And there were some one-liners that definitely delivered. One of my favorite comedic reliefs were when she was sitting in the car that you could only drive with stick, and she didn't know how to drive stick. And early on, her dad had offered to teach her how to drive stick. And she sits there trying to escape the clown, but can't because it's a stick drive. And she says, when your dad wants to teach you to drive stick, you effing take it. And then the dad teaching her how to drive stick while they're being chased by a clown. That was awesome. If you're like me and you're already thinking, I need more Frendo in my life, well, I have some very good news. The author, Adam Cesare, just announced that he isn't done. Yes, we are getting a 4th book. I honestly thought that things had wrapped up with the 3rd book. He told Bloody Disgusting that he's planning a 4th entry and teases the title already, which is called Clown in a Cat ASMR. Teases the title, which is called Clown in a Cornfield 4, Lights, Camera, Frendo, which will go way more meta. Between the title and the film adaptation out now, I wouldn't be surprised if we are heading into Wes Craven's new nightmare territory next, and honestly, I'm so here for it. The Frendoverse is far from over. I am wondering how they will go with the movies. Eli Craig said that he would have loved to make a Tucker and Dale versus Evil Part 2, but since nobody had gone to the movies to watch the first one, that kind of tanked. However, I feel like if he made it now, people will go in droves to the cinema. Any producers listening, make a Tucker and Dale Part 2. There's a lot of us who would watch it. Please and thank you. If you like clowns and you like Eli Craig, go to the cinema, watch it or rent it, whatever, just to get the numbers up so that Eli Craig can start doing more debauchery stuff, like Tucker and Dale versus Evil Part 2. That was me screaming into the void. I hope you liked this video. If you have watched the movie and read the book, let me know what you thought about it. And if you see a clown in a cornfield, run. Okay, bye!